What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It is Monday. It is time for the tier list. An interesting first week of the Major 2 qualifiers this weekend. Some teams that are definitely surprised or surprise-ish in starting well, and a couple of teams that were surprised that were 0-2. We're going to take a look at the tier list. There'll be some jumbling today. We're also going to talk about some rumored roster moves. I'm going to talk about in this video and in a new video tomorrow. So let's dive in. A lot to talk about the tier list. Let's update it. All right. So if you are new to these videos, I don't do the letter thing. I do it this way. The top is sort of our teams that we expect to win events. So at the moment, it's just the top two teams, FaZe and Thieves. Don't really see any squads to that spot. We got Sunday regulars, usually the top 3 or top 4 teams. Going to be some jumbling in this spot. Fighting for Sundays is about the top 6, the edge of the teams I think have a chance to make it to Sunday. I don't know, or teams that are in kind of a weird spot. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. They usually have a couple of key issues, and missing pieces are teams that I think need a roster change. As always, we're going to start from the bottom. We're going to start with the Vegas Falcons, and man, I don't know what to say about this team, bro. They still can't win hard points. They were able to go to game 4 in both their series this weekend against Boston and Thieves, but these guys cannot play a solid 10 minutes of a hard point map to try and get one on the board. They can steal searches off of people. They did against Thieves. And against Boston, they were able to take a vault control. But outside of that, like, these guys are getting 3-0, 3-1 for the rest of the time until they can win hard points. I don't want to waste too much oxygen on that because there's more important things to talk about. They are last in the league and they're going to stay that way. Now, the team that I want to talk about, which we had second to last on our tier list before Neptune got picked up, is the Vancouver Surge. And they are, you know, the team that I am surprised they went 2-0 this week. They beat FaZe in 4 maps. Super typical against a FaZe team that had just gotten back from winning Major 1. They grinded out a fun result against Cloud9, taking map 1, map 3, and map 5 in the series. So overall, we've seen some really good protocol work from Vancouver. Everybody on the team has been stepping up. They've been absolutely frying. At the moment, the way they are playing, I'm going to move them up to Fighting for Sundays. We're going to jump them 2 tiers. And they have a pretty interesting upcoming schedule with LAG coming up this week. And LAG might be making a change, and we'll talk about that. And then Thieves, Miami, Toronto, Minnesota. Like, Vancouver's in a good spot. They make winners bracket. We'll see about the draw. We'll see how they play through the rest of the stages. People kind of figure out what maps this team is good at. Well, a key showing for Vancouver, 2-0, and we got to tip that. Speaking of LAG, look, they got last at Major 1, and we thought they should have made a roster change, and that's why they're in missing pieces. And they had a series against Boston that went in game 5, but you're probably not surprised. LAG lost game 5 to Boston, 6-2. They were not even close. The search on this team, when you look at the caliber of talent on this team, their S&D should not be this bad. Like, at the moment, they're 4-11 on the game mode is just unacceptable. And so it is not surprising to me that it looks like they are going to be picking up Lunars. Right now, the indication is for Priesta, but we haven't got full confirmation from the org. I honestly, at this point, don't know if a one-person change is kind of fixing their S&D issues. Like, I don't know if pressing for Lunars is really moving the needle on that, and maybe it affects their game modes, and then, you know, I don't know. It looks like this is sort of the change for now. So I'm leaving LAG in missing pieces because I don't want to move them up to, I don't know, until I see them play. But at the moment, it looks like a roster change. It looks like Preston's getting rotated out, and one change for now on that front. Another team that I think is due for a roster change is Cloud9. A really good 3-0 victory versus Toronto, and then they lost game 5 to Vancouver. So there's a good chance that Cloud9 is maybe in the I don't know tier right now. I'm going to hold off for a sec until they play Vegas and Boston next week before I move them up, because I think Boston's playing pretty good now. We're gonna get to them in a second. Cloud9 might be able to hold off a roster change for a sec, but I think another 1-in-1 week might be a situation, depending on how that Boston result goes, so they finally make a change, but who knows, bro. I think this is similar to Seattle Surge situation with these players. They're all gonna look out for each other, friendship cheese, and they're not really willing to make a change, even though they just are just kind of mid and okay. Boston Breach, another surprise 2-0 team. They beat Vegas. Well, that one's not really a surprise. And they grind out a game 5 to Boston. So I don't really know where I want to put this Boston team because I'm still a bit iffy about them when it comes to the lane environment. I'm not convinced by the ARs, but I'll move them out of the I don't know tier and off of missing pieces. I think we saw better performances from Cam. I'm still not convinced by Wake, but a better show for Boston, a 2-0 start. The problem is they got Toronto and Cloud9 next week. Let's see if they can go 2-0 again, but I have a feeling we're going to get back to the mix with Boston, where we just don't know if they're good or if they're bad. Another team that I just had no idea where to put is the Minnesota Rocker. Beat Miami 3-1, and then 3-0 OpTic. Like, I feel like I got to move them up in this tier, and now we're getting this like weird situation where we got to order some of these teams. So we'll kind of work through this category and maybe we'll shuffle it out. But I feel like Minnesota now, having won, 4 of the last 5 after the big slide coming into the major, they look like they've kind of stabilized. It looks like they're on the same page about how they want to play. Looks like they're a tough out. So they got Vegas and Carolina coming up next week. I think with the way that Vegas and Carolina are playing, I have a real feeling that these guys might be off to a 4-0 start, which would be nice. They got off to a good start in the last stage. I don't know if y'all remember, they got off to a 2-0 start and then lost 5 straight. We'll see if the same thing happens or if these guys go into the minor tournament looking decent for making winners bracket. But I really like how they play in Respawn and a search. Everybody's playing. Paul played much better this week. There's a lot to like about the Minnesota situation right now. We got Miami Heretics up next, and I'm gonna be honest, I would not take them against Vancouver or Minnesota right now, so I'm moving them to the top of the I don't know tier. Apparently they were pretty sick last week. That's what Real kind of tweeted, and they had Super come in for medals. But I think Miami always sort of looked sort of iffy to me. Even on that top 3 run at the major, I just feel like when I watch them play, they're gonna lose every map. So I want to see how they do against LAG and FaZe this week, but I'm moving down to the I don't know tier because at the moment, I'm still not convinced that these guys are in a position to follow up that top 3 from Major 1. And another team that I think is not going to follow up their performance from Major 1 is Carolina. I'm going to move them down the I don't know tier. Losses against Thieves and Toronto. Yeah, both those teams are probably pretty decent, but Carolina is now statistically one of the worst hardpoint teams in the league. Like, I'm being dead serious. Look at these stats. This team, and I don't know if this is fully updated from last week, and I know my guy Turtle who made this sheet has been dealing with some stuff, so hopefully he's feeling a little bit better. But you see their second worst rotation team in the league. And as far as breaking, they are actually near the bottom on that bottom 5, it looks like, in the category. So they just do not know how to play or are not playing hardpoint effective to run ahead of people. And yeah, you go over to S&D and they're 14-8 and the S&D stats are great. Even though the forced blood percentage is a little bit low. But if they can't win hard points, I just don't see how these guys are going to consistently win series. So for me, they're in the I don't know tier until they can figure out their hard point. Miami and Vancouver are going to be interesting tests, and I will not be surprised if Carolina is like 1-3 or 0-4 going into Cloud9, Vegas, Atlanta FaZe, and OpTic. Carolina's in trouble, bro. I really think that this could be a stage where they get top 8 or worse. A weird week for Toronto Ultra. I don't know where to order this tier. I don't know where to put them right now. I think the way that Vancouver and Minnesota played, maybe I'll put them here, but this tier kind of shuffles a lot. Like, I don't know how to really rank them because they should be playing better than they are, and they got 3-0 smoked off the map by Cloud9 in that first match. But then they followed up like a pretty confident victory against Carolina. Like, the respawns weren't super close. The S&D was, but Carolina are a good search team. Like, I just don't know where to put Toronto right now. Maybe I kind of put them here because Vancouver looked really good in both series, but like, it's just this group of teams is really tough to crack, and I think Toronto should be playing better than some of their parts. Boston and Thieves next week are going to be really telling on how good this team is, but they are floating around the top 6 area, and I think they should be due for better placings. Their search game is good. When they're on, their S&D is good, and when the respawn is on, it's good, but when it's off, it looks pretty off. And yeah, this stat's still not getting better. They are still not really making progress on the rotation win percentage, and maybe that's part of the struggles in hardpoint when they're not front running people. All right, now we get to what I think people want us to talk about, the OpTic situation. So first couple matches with AG, AK Pred, and well, 3-0 smoked off the map by FaZe, 3-0 smoked off the map by Minnesota. I can't put these guys in Sunday regulars right now, at least for the moment. I just think that they're just somewhere around this jumble of teams. Like, I think I'm going to put, I don't know, order, because I just don't know. I don't think there's anyone who is sort of a Sunday regular for me. It's just a mix of teams, and there are a bunch of them that all have a chance to really join FaZe and Thieves and the teams that make it to Sunday this event. And OpTic should be one of them. But right now, you watched them play this weekend in those 6 maps, and it did not look like a cohesive team to me. The communication seemed off. The vibes on camera seemed off. Dashy's trying to break his webcam. Kenny's dropping 0.58s in series. Like, everything about what they're doing right now feels off. And I think they're just going to need to keep at it and keep grinding and keep practicing and hoping that by the time Major 2 rolls around, they will be in form. They only have one match coming up this weekend. It's against Carolina, and Carolina aren't playing that good. So it's possible to get a little bit of momentum after that. But they have Miami, Toronto, Thieves, and LAG. Like, and again, LAG might be making a change there. They have a tough schedule. It's going to be, they're going to have to beat some decent teams to get 3 or 4 wins here to make winners bracket. But they've not done themselves any favors. And to be fair, it's a tough schedule they had. Playing FaZe like with AG just back is already a tough draw. and Minnesota are a tricky out, but I feel like OpTic probably should have been a little bit better against Minnesota, but I'm watching OpTic like, I can make a whole video on the OpTic thing, but regardless, cannot put them in the Sunday regulars category. They should. My predictions in a couple weeks, they should be in there, but for now, 0-2 start. They're in the pack with Vancouver, Toronto, and Minnesota. Somehow, I think 2 of those teams right now, and I would maybe add Boston to the list because I don't know, put Boston like here-ish. I think that the 4 teams above those guys, OpTic, Vancouver, Toronto, and Minnesota, 2 of them will most likely get top 4, but I don't know, amongst those 7, really, who knows? It's FaZe and Thieves in their class of their own at the moment. Let's talk about it. Thieves, 3-0 against Carolina and a 3-1 against the Vegas Falcons. Some things to like from the weekend. A really good Hossie search, clean Hossie search against Carolina, and the respawns in both series looked really good. The downside is against Vegas, they got 6-1 smoked on Skyline Search. So Thieves, the key thing for me is I think they're winning 6 or 7 this split, and it's about seeing progress in their search. Toronto, Vancouver, Boston, OpTic, Minnesota is an interesting set. There's some good tests there, but I still think Thieves are going to continue to just kind of smooth along, drive along here, and them versus FaZe rematch feels like to me, I'm assuming OpTic don't get better, feels like to me we're going to get a rematch at this next event. And then for FaZe, a surprising 3-1 loss to Vancouver. Vancouver looked really good, and FaZe's protocol hardpoint has been super hit or miss all year, and that was kind of a key moment in that series. And the protocol control obviously wasn't as good against Vancouver either, but they looked good in the protocol control against OpTic, so I don't know. I think for FaZe, there's clearly some map pool things that they need to work on Vol Hardpoint, on Hossies, on protocols, but they're good enough and their search is good enough that they're going to find quite a few wins in the schedule of Miami and Minnesota. Miami is their only match next week, but they have Minnesota, Boston, LAG, Cloud9. They're going to be good kind of value to maybe win that minor tournament. I think them and Thieves could square up. They're on opposite sides of the bracket there. But I think FaZe are going to kind of cruise to winner's bracket here. And it's just about rounding out the map pool, rounding out the little things, and continuing to be elite in SMB because they're still executing that game mode at a super high level. And that's really the key to winning championships. That's how they beat Thieves really at Major 1, Game 7, Round 11. FaZe made the better plays and Thieves did not. All right, so that was a fun tier list. I'm sure you guys will have a lot of comments, so let me know what you guys think. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.